Dr. Aishwarya Patil on behalf of HCG Cancer Center. I welcome you all to this live session. Today we have with us Dr. Nandish Kumar Devangi. He is a medical oncologist. He will be talking to us about chemotherapy and precautions during chemotherapy. Let's start the session now. Good afternoon, sir. So, what is chemotherapy and how is it given?
So, whenever there is a diagnosis of cancer, so we talk of treatment. There are three modalities of treatment in cancer. One is surgery, second is radiation, and third is the chemotherapy. So, chemotherapy was the last one to be developed in this modality of treatment. So, chemotherapy is any medicine which is used to kill the cancer cells or to stop the growth of the cancer cells. So, the word chemo means to kill the cells. So, this is specially used to in treating cancers, and this can be used in the form of oral medicines or injections. And most of the chemotherapy medicines are usually injections, and they are given intravenous in the vessels.
And what is the purpose of chemotherapy treatment?
Purpose of the treatment. So, what happens? See, when they used to do initial treatment of cancer, they used to do surgery, and they found that after few weeks or few months, the cancer used to recur. That would have been the local, that is operated site, or in some other parts of the body. So then they started giving radiation, so that they thought that the cancer won't come back. But that helped only the local control. So despite best treatment, the cancer was coming back to other parts of the body. So then they realized that cancer is a systemic disease, that is, starts in one part but spreads to other parts of the body. So they thought that we should give some medicines which will be active in the tumor bed as well as systemically. So they started giving chemotherapy so that it kills the small cells which have spread from the local sites to the other parts of the body. So, and this is how chemotherapy worked or how it started. But when we give a chemotherapy to a patient, it is usually given in two intents, that is curative and palliative intent. In curative intent, the patient might have undergone a surgery. Here, after surgery, when there is no disease, we give chemotherapy. Here, its purpose is that it kills the microscopic cells which are present, left behind, or they have spread to other parts. This is called as adjuvant chemotherapy. And sometimes we give chemotherapy before the surgery. That is called as neoadjuvant chemotherapy. Here, the tumor is so big that upfront surgery may not be feasible. So here we give chemotherapy, downsize the tumor, and then operate the patient. So both these settings, adjuvant and neoadjuvant, it is curative intent. And lastly, one more intent is palliative intent. Here, when the patient has progressed to stage 4 cancer, here we give chemotherapy with an intent to improve his survival, to give a few more days to his life, and to give good quality of life, that is, control the symptoms.
So, before you start a chemotherapy, what are the tests that are required to be performed?
Okay. So, before chemotherapy, how the step proceeds? So, patient has come for some symptoms to any hospital, a doctor sees, then he thinks it is cancer, he does workup. So, after completing workup, we diagnose the cancer. So, that workup is called as staging workup of the cancer. Once we have completed the staging workup, there will be a multidisciplinary tumor group where a surgical oncologist, radiation oncologist, medical oncologist, radiologist, pathologist, all together we discuss the case and then we plan a treatment about surgery, radiation or chemo. So I will assume there is a patient who has been decided to give chemotherapy. So before chemotherapy, patient has already completed the staging workup and now patient comes to chemotherapy. So before starting chemotherapy, we need a couple of blood tests like complete blood count, where hemoglobin, WBC, platelet counts, renal function tests like serum creatinine, liver function tests like serum bilirubin, albumin, and enzymes, and sugar tests. So these are the common set of investigations we do before starting the first cycle of chemotherapy. And subsequently also, before each chemo, we need some blood tests. Minimum requirement is CBC and creatinine. So these tests are done to see that there are no side effects of chemotherapy. That before chemotherapy, the patient has completely recovered from the previous chemotherapy. And to check that whether the creatinine, kidney, blood counts are all normal. These blood tests won't tell anything about the cancer status. It has nothing to do with it. What the body is responding to cancer, we never know from these blood tests.
So does the patient have to get admitted while taking chemotherapy?
So all patients need not get admitted for chemotherapy. So then when we mean by admission, there is a concept different. Once we get into the hospital, that is admission. So we in oncology say inpatient admission and daycare admission. When we say inpatient admission, it is overnight patient stays in the hospital for 24 hours. When we say daycare admission, patient still got admitted into the hospital. We give the medicines and we discharge the patient on the same day. And that daycare admission can be anywhere between 1 hour, 3 hours, or 6 hours. But ultimately, the patient goes home. That is daycare. When we say inpatient, patient remains overnight for the treatment. So, whether patient gets treatment in daycare or IP, it depends upon various factors. Basically, how fit is the patient, how old is he, or is he having any diabetes, pre-existing diseases, and whether do we expect complications of chemotherapy. If we want to observe the patients, we will give at inpatient admission. But if the patient is fit and chemotherapy is very safe, we will give it on a daycare basis. But it all varies from patient to patient. But always it is good to get admitted for the first cycle, first 24 hours. That way what happens, we will know because it is the first time we are giving medicine, how our body reacts to medicine. So it is always better to get admitted for first cycle.
So if a patient, is there any cure if the patient follows all the chemotherapy as prescribed?
No, unfortunately the answer for this is no. As I was telling to you that chemotherapy is given in the with an intent to decrease the risk of recurrence. The disease cancer itself is such that the disease always comes back. I would not say always, most of the time. It all depends upon the diagnosis stage of the disease. Earlier the stage and better treatment, the risk of recurrence is less. So all these modalities, radiation and chemotherapy, is given to decrease the risk of recurrence. So despite we give best of the best treatment, there will be a small fraction of persons who will recur. But there is a good number of patients who will be benefited with this. So put in a simple words, so there are some 100 patients without recur disease, without treatment, 60% will recur. With our treatment, 80% will recur. So there is a 20% group who would have recurred even without our treatment and 60% with treatment. So this 20% additional we want to cure. So that's why we are giving this additional. So whatever numbers I have given, these are arbitrary to just explain the process. So it's not hard and fast, but early stage and good treatment is always important for the cure.
So what about the cost? How much is each chemotherapy cost?
So the cost of the chemotherapy varies depending upon what regimen we are using. So it has to be individualized and it should be discussed to the patient before starting the chemotherapy.
And what about the effect of chemotherapy on pregnancy further?
That is an important question. So when we give chemotherapy, we give it to all men, women, and children. So what effects does chemotherapy have on the woman is important to know. So I'll put it in 3 important points. First is, when we give chemotherapy, the menstrual cycles of a woman, they get disturbed. When I mean get disturbed, in few patients there will be irregular menses and in some cases it will stop. That is called as amenorrhea. The menses cease. So this menses ceasing is temporary. It is not a permanent. If the patient is a young woman, the chances of the cycles returning back is very high. But if the woman is old and towards menopause, she may not regain the cycles. So this important information they should know that menstrual cycles may get irregular and stop, and there is nothing to worry. And this cessation of menstrual cycles is nothing related to our oncology treatment. It is only a side effect of the chemotherapy. Second important thing is sexual relationships between the husband and the wife. So couples can have relation. There is no contraindication for relations, but they have to use contraceptive measures, and especially the barrier contraceptive. So why I say it is important to use contraceptive? Because when chemotherapy is there, any patient on chemotherapy, the woman conceives, that chemotherapy drugs are likely to go into the baby also, and baby will be born with defects. So hence, any woman or husband who are in reproductive age group and they are likely to conceive during chemotherapy, they have to understand that there is no strict abstinence of relations. You can maintain the relations, but you should not conceive. And proper use of contraceptive measures is important. Third thing is fertility. So after chemotherapy, will I be able to conceive? That is also an important question. So, and a good chunk of our patients are in young age, especially women. So, what happens to their fertility? Whether they will be able to conceive. So, most of the chemotherapy drugs produce temporary infertility, but after a few years, they can conceive. But there are very few drugs which may produce permanent infertility. So that thing we have to keep in the mind. The doctor also takes this efforts. So whenever patient is young, we also try to make an effort to counsel them. So if they are very keen on having children in future, there are some special methods where we can save, preserve their eggs or in vitro babies before starting the treatment.
So is cancer contagious? Does it spread from one person to another?
No. So cancer is not a contagious disease. It doesn't spread from one person to another person. So we see daily so many cancer patients. Still now I have not had any cancer. So, but in general population, I want to tell them that cancer is not a contagious disease. So if there is a patient who is having cancer in your family, you can take care of it. There is nothing that we have to take some precautions. Especially what I have seen, grandfather is a patient of cancer and he wants to play with his grandson or granddaughter, family members are apprehensive. Or sometimes the baby goes and sleep with the patient. So there is nothing to worry if the children or anyone shares plates with the cancer patient. Cancer is not a contagious disease. On the contrary, I will add some more points. Any patient of cancer who is taking on chemotherapy, he is slightly immunosuppressed. What I mean, his fighting capacity to infections is less. So anyone of us having any infection, like if we are having fever, cough, breathlessness, we should not go in front of them. But they can come in front of us. But if we are having any problem, we should not go in front.
So people with diabetes and hypertension, can they continue their treatment?
Yes. So oncology treatment, any cancer patient, surgery, chemotherapy or radiotherapy should continue their pre-existing medicines. So it is important that the patient should tell the doctor that what are their pre-existing diseases and if any medicines they are taking. And most of the times there are no contraindications to change the medicine, and it is important that you have to continue those medicines. Unless your doctor finds that there is some interaction, he may suggest to change it. But you have to continue all the pre-existing medicines during chemotherapy.
A lot of patients want to know they can take homeopathy medicines along with chemotherapy.
Okay. Unfortunately, I am not trained in Ayurveda or homeopathy. So what happens? I'll be very honest with you. See what happens. Some patient comes with some Ayurvedic medicine to us. I don't know what is the content of that medicine and what purpose does it serve. So I don't know when I give it to my patient, what benefit or side effects he will have. And especially what interactions. When I am giving chemotherapy and along with that I give some other alternative medicine, there is an interaction of this medicine. There may be increased efficacy or there may be serious side effect, but I don't know the content. So I am not uncomfortable by adding other medicines. So I request my patients that don't take any such treatment before during chemotherapy. Once we have completed chemotherapy, when we are not using any of our medicines, that time you can try those medicines, but not along with the chemotherapy.
So can they take second opinion from other oncologists?
Yes, it's always good to have a second opinion, and I welcome them. It's not that you should always stick with one doctor. At any particular hospital, today the treatment decision is taken after a multidisciplinary board. So all the three faculties, medical, surgical, and radiation, together take a call what is best for the doctor. But it is always, if patient is keen, they should always take a second opinion. There is no harm.
So once a patient is diagnosed with cancer, can they continue to smoke or chew tobacco?
No, the answer for it is no. So now, if someone asks me a direct question, sir, if I continue to smoke, what will happen to my cancer? So I cannot give a scientific or a correct answer to this. But the simple rationale is that smoking and alcohol should be stopped as soon as we are diagnosed as a cancer, because there will be some form of interaction which we may not know directly. But smoking and alcohol should be stopped once we are starting treatment.
And what about the food habits? What are the dietary management that you recommended?
Okay, so it is also important. So what are the dietary precautions the patient has to take care? So any patient who is taking chemotherapy, so what are the diet precautions I will suggest is, first important thing is, during chemotherapy, the side effect of chemotherapy is there will be loss of appetite and loss of taste. Patient doesn't feel like eating, and if he eats also, he may not find it tasteful. So there is an aversion to the food. But if you start not eating food, then you will develop malnutrition, and then there will be complications with chemotherapy. So it is important that you have to maintain good nutrition during the chemotherapy. So you have to eat, cook or cook, you have to have good food. So what I tell my patients is, even you don't have appetite or don't have taste, you have to eat. That is important. So now how do I eat? So see what happens. Normally what we do, we have three meals: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. These are full meals. During chemotherapy, we may not have that much meals. Small and frequent meals. Every 2 hours, eat something, whatever you like. It is not that you don't eat this or that. Every 2 hours, keep on eating something, and drink lot of water. This way, you will have good nutrition. So again, in the food, what else precautions we have to take? So important is, you have to clean your hands with soap and water before eating. Especially even the patient as well as the person who is feeding the food. So cleaning hands is important. Take lots of water. All food should be clean and hygienic. So when I say clean and hygienic, it is a question mark. What is clean and what is hygienic? So something you may find clean or something you may not find. So what I put in simple words is, anything which is raw, preferably avoid it. Eat anything which is well boiled and cooked. So all the vegetables, cook it, boil it and eat. Especially during chemotherapy, if possible, avoid raw vegetables. It's not hard and fast that you must not eat raw. If it is clean, we can eat, but most of the time it is difficult to assess. So, well cooked and boiled vegetables you can eat. Anything prepared in the home, cooked food you can eat everything. Roti, chapati, chawan, all rice, dal, everything. Some people have query, should we eat sweet or no? You can eat sweets. If you are not diabetic, you can eat sweets. Whatever you like, you have to eat more and more. Well cooked food. Then comes the question of milk, ghee, and chas, water, buttermilk. So this all can be taken. Nothing is that we should not eat. Everything you can eat. And non-vegetarian food. So again, if it is well cooked and boiled food, you can eat. But I suggest my patients that preferably avoid non-vegetarian during the treatment, only to guard them and the safety. Sometimes they may eat outside and all, but it is important is you should eat clean and boiled egg. Eggs you can eat boiled. That is all precautions we have to take. Drink lots of water. That is important.
So a lot of patients keep saying that they've heard so much toxicity about chemotherapy, so they are really scared to take chemotherapy. So what should they do?
Okay, I agree that chemotherapy has some side effects. It is not that all chemotherapies are devoid of side effects, but the side effects vary. It depends upon the patient and the regimen. Some patients, sometimes there may be no side effects, sometimes there may be serious side effects. But before deciding a treatment to a patient, the doctor weighs the benefits and side effects of the chemotherapy, especially when we are going to cure the disease. A curative intent disease, some amount of side effects is acceptable. And some treatment or some diseases, the treatment is very aggressive. But that is the only option available. If we complete that treatment, there is a scope we may get cured. So don't worry about the side effects. If you are worried, talk to your doctor. And all side effects are, most of them are temporary. It is not that it is going to last forever. All effects of chemotherapy will decrease in 1 week, 2 weeks, maximum 3 weeks. And again, there will be a phase when you will be much better. Again, we will give the second cycle. So talk to the doctor. We weigh the risks and benefits, and these are temporary. This you should know. And when you heard about side effects, most of the time it is that bad things get publicity. So anyone who has suffered, he will tell you. But there are many other patients who might have taken safely and they are leading a normal life. They never come and tell you that I have taken. And most of the time people are avoiding to tell about the treatment. So that is the problem. You can always go to the doctor. And there are many patients who are already taking treatment. You can talk to them. So then you will come to know, okay, it is not so horrible as I thought. It should be, it is much better.
What are the common side effects of chemotherapy?
Okay. Those side effects of chemotherapy are many, and but there are very few common side effects. So if I go one by one, so first important thing is hair loss. Many are worried about it. So the hair loss depends upon again the drug we use. There are some drugs in which there may be no hair fall, and some drugs there is total hair loss. But one important thing is it is temporary. All hairs will come. It is not a permanent disorder. So you can use a wig temporarily. So that will help you to boost your molar. But and sometimes patients ask me, sir, can we use any oil to prevent this hair loss? But unfortunately, there are no known measures. There is something called as scalp pulling, but that is scientific way. But there are no other common medicines which we can use to avoid hair loss. We have to know that hair loss is temporary and we will get that. That is one important. Second, I previously told about menstrual cycles. All women in the reproductive age group will develop menstrual imbalance that will be irregular and they may stop having the menstrual cycles. Again, this is a temporary thing. Third important is pigmentation of the skin, hand and tongue. If you see patients taking chemotherapy, sometimes the tip of the hand becomes black, sometimes tongue becomes black. So again, this pigmentation is reversible and temporary. Once we stop the chemotherapy, this all skin changes will come. And there is no medicine where we can avoid this. These are going to occur and they will cease.
So talking about this hair loss and skin pigmentation, is it dependent on what type of chemotherapy?
Yes. No, but there are few drugs which produce complete hair loss, and there are few drugs which do not produce hair loss. So it depends. But most of the drugs we have hair loss.
What about vomiting and loose motion?
Okay, good. GI side effects are also an important part of chemotherapy. So we'll start with nausea. So all patients who are taking chemotherapy will develop nausea or vomiting. That is the feeling of sensation of vomiting. So few years back it was like every patient who has received chemotherapy used to vomit. But nowadays we have so many medicines to prevent this. So this nausea and vomiting usually occurs in first 1 or 2 weeks. And it is not that all the drugs produce nausea. It depends. Some drugs produce very minimal nausea, few drugs produce more nausea. So depending upon the drug you take, we prescribe medicines to decrease it. So then even after giving medicines, some patients may have nausea and vomiting. So again go back to doctor, we will give some other additional medicines so that this nausea and vomiting is controlled. So nausea and vomiting is fairly controlled nowadays. And in diet measures, what we can do. So after chemotherapy, try to eat dry and bland things. In that way, the nausea and vomiting will be less. But if you eat spicy and sour things, the nausea will be more. And after nausea and vomiting, the second important is constipation. Usually the anti-emetic medicines we use in chemotherapy, the side effect is constipation. So every patient after taking chemotherapy feels constipated and he doesn't pass motions. So usually we suggest such patients to take some syrup, lactulose or primafene. That should be taken one day before chemotherapy, during chemo and after chemo. So if you take those measures, constipation is also relieved. And the last important was loose motions. So some chemotherapy drugs produce severe loose motions. It could be anywhere between 2 to 3 motions per day to 10 to 15 motions also. So every time when we prescribe a chemotherapy, we tell the patient based upon the chemotherapy regimen, what could be the more likely side effect. So in regimens which have a lot of loose motion, we give anti-motility drugs like loperamide, so that as soon as they develop motions, they should take these medicines. And even when they develop loose motions, they should take a lot of fluids, preferably with ORS or electrol. So that way, hydration is maintained.
A lot of patients complain of fever. Is it a side effect of chemotherapy?
Yes, it is one more important point. So what happens? The side effect of chemotherapy is myelosuppression. So as I told, chemotherapy is used to kill cancer cells. Same way, chemotherapy kills dividing cells of the body. So hair fall is one of the important. So same way, bone marrow suppression is a common side effect of chemotherapy. So bone marrow produces three types of cells: RBC, WBC, and platelets. So WBC are like soldiers of our body who fight against the infection. So whenever we give chemotherapy, there may be a decrease in the WBC count. When the WBC counts are low, the risk of infection is high, and any infection acquired during low WBC count could be lethal. So, any fever which we develop during chemotherapy should not be neglected. It has to be immediately reported. And same, before going to the discharging the patient, we will counsel the patient that any fever you should not neglect. You should do a CBC test. And if there is WBC count is low, then we have to start them on oral antibiotics or IV antibiotics. Same way, after WBC, there may be decrease in platelet count also. So if the platelet counts decrease, there will be bleeding, spontaneous bleeding. So it could be in the form of few patches in the skin or somewhere on the oral cavity, or it may be bleeding in the nose. So any such sign, again get a platelet count done. If platelet counts are low, you have to report to the hospital. And these both myelosuppression and low platelet are not common. It does not happen to every patient. So all these side effects do not occur in every patient. Some patients it may be mild, some patients may not be.
So a few queries, sir. In case of reoccurrence of the disease, how many times can they take chemotherapy, sir? Till how many times is it safe to take?
Okay, see, when you are asking about recurrence, when the disease occurs first time, that is adjuvant or neoadjuvant, there are some protocols established for every disease, and we give treatment on that. But when there is a recurrence, when there is disease is recurrence, we call it a stage 4. And in put it in simple way, now I say it is a chronic condition like any diabetes and hypertension. It is never going to be cured and it may not kill you immediately. So we have to give treatment in such a way that the cancer is under control and it is not producing symptoms. So depending upon again disease to disease and protocol, we give usually 4 to 6 cycles. If the disease comes under control, then there are a couple of options. One is after 4 to 6 cycles, we stop the treatment and we just follow up. Some diseases we give maintenance treatment. Once we have controlled disease, we don't want it to grow back. So what we do is we give maintenance treatment. Again, this maintenance treatment can be in the form of tablets, injections, or targeted. And this maintenance treatment can be for few months. Third option is sometimes we continue the treatment. especially when the medicine is in the form of tablets or targeted therapy where the side effects are less. So sometimes we continue the treatment. So what we see in these modalities are side effects of the medicine and the benefit. If the medicine is showing benefit, disease is under control and there are no side effects, we can always continue the treatment. But it has to be individualized.
And is chemotherapy safer than immunotherapy?
Okay, I would not put it in that way. Immunotherapy is a modality of the treatment. It is a newer modality of treatment. So what people are worried about chemotherapy, the same thing, side effects, hair loss, appetite, myelosuppression and all. So this newer modality of immunotherapy, they are also medicines which are given in the form of injections, sometimes on tablet. But they have a special side effects. They don't have these side effects like hair loss and myelosuppression. So they have some immune related side effects. It can be in the form of skin rash, loose motion, lung involvement. So I would not say that they are much safer than chemotherapy. They are a newer modality and we can use them with chemotherapy or after chemotherapy.
So that's all, sir. Thank you so much for your time.